Hello, I'm John Rushton, and welcome to another edition of Emotions Expert. I get a lot of correspondence from people on a whole range of subjects, some quite diverse and some just general conversational information. But it's very interesting that a lot of people mention the same thing. After a while, you see a pattern forming. And one of those is about when you talk to somebody and you tell them something or you give an opinion. It's not necessarily a defined opinion, it's just, oh, look at this and whatever it is, or you're pointing something out, and the response to that is almost as an argument, that they're questioning what you've said, how you've said it, and why did you say that, and they can't do this and they can't do that, and oh, it shouldn't be done like this, or there's too much of that going on. You think, where did all this come from? All I said was whatever you wanted to say. This is something you've got to actually cut and stop straight away, and you get to know certain people, the way they think and the way they move and the way they do things in life. All they do is continually argue. They have this monomindedness which actually portrays their point of view, their opinion. What they think should happen is what should happen. There's no alternative, there's nothing else. This is the way it should be. What governments do, what ministers do, what people do, what celebrities do, what anybody does, they have an opinion, and their opinion is in fact the only opinion which is required from their point of view. If you meet people like this, the best thing to do is to move on. There's a lot of conversational aspects today, and this has all come about by the media putting their slant on various things. Depending on which media you view or which newspapers you read, the slant is always different, and you often think, which is the right one? Who's telling lies? Who's making things up? Who's putting their own slant on it? Are the reporters sort of unbiased, or are they incredibly biased, and this is what they think should be, therefore you need to know this, and they have a duty to put this out, and of course they don't do anything of the sort. But this is something which is quite prevalent today, and you've got to look at those around you. It could even be your parents or your brother and sister or whoever it is, and it doesn't mean you've got to fall out with these people, but you don't want the headache of every time you say something a barrage of words coming back which is sort of contradictory to what you've said, or if you said one thing and they agree with it, they have to add something else to make it their responsibility to say something to inform you that it's not only what you've said, but it includes this and this and this and this, and so it goes on. You've got to look at people the way you want to see life, the way you want to respond, and eventually you'll get to know how to phrase your questions and what to say, so you don't just say off-the-cuff comments, because you know from certain people you won't get an off-the-cuff response. You'll get a diatribe of comments about what you should do, you shouldn't have done this is not right, I don't believe in this. And you don't need that. You don't need any of that whatsoever. You don't need their comment or somebody else's comment. All you are doing is just saying something on the spur of the moment, maybe for a conversational piece, or maybe just a comment which came to mind because you thought it was important, but you didn't want an argument. You didn't want a full-blown discussion upon it. You didn't want anything at all. And so eliminate those people from your general conversations, or eliminate your conversational aspects with them and just say things which are very common, very straight to the point, have no great bearing whatsoever, and leave it at that. You'll find if you do this in life with a lot of people, you will find more people on your own wavelength. You won't have to worry about what you're saying with other people. Not that you've got to worry about what you say anyway. You're entitled to say anything you like. If other people get upset or hurt or challenged by it, that's entirely of their volition. It's nothing to do with you whatsoever. They've decided to do all of those things. You haven't, and so you don't have to listen to their feedback or any kind of diatribe from them at all. Just do and say what you want. But if you know there are those around you who are going to get upset, who can't help themselves, or they have verbal diarrhea, and they've just got to tell everybody what you've said or repeat it or anything else, move on. It's far, far better. And you will find that, as I've mentioned, you will find more people on your wavelength by doing so and by eliminating those around you. And it may seem at first, well, a lot of people don't like what I say, or I can't say anything hardly because everybody seems to have an opinion. They need to change mine, or need to tell me how wrong I am, or need to tell me, well, it could be that they're less informed. Sometimes what you say actually frightens other people. What you say is from a different perspective, which actually makes them think themselves. And they're not used to that. They're used to this sort of monomindedness. To get something completely out of the blue, or out of the box thinking, or a new way of looking at things, or something of that nature, is quite alien to them. So don't be disheartened by all of this, and eventually you'll get used to feedback from people, and you'll be able to read people. You'll be able to understand what they're saying, how they're saying it, why they're saying it, because every time someone talks to you, they're giving a bit of themselves, their own fears, their phobias, their likes, their dislikes, and all of this kind of thing. And within a few minutes conversation, you think, aha, that person is dull and boring. And by and large, they usually are. You're not often wrong once you get to know all of these traits that people come out with in conversation. So listen to what people say, and if they say something which you think, oh yes, okay, I'm not going to argue, I can't be bothered, it's not worth it. Why should I? I want something better out of this conversation, or I want something better this evening, I don't want this kind of thing. Think about that, listen to what people say, and if they want to argue, that's fine, but you don't have to join in. And if they say something which actually strikes a negative chord with you, that's fine. You do not have to respond. Agree with them if you have to, just to shut them up, but it doesn't mean you have to agree with them wholeheartedly into what they're saying. It's not worth it. They are not worth it. Understand that what you've got to say and think about is prime for you, and keep it that way.